Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind Podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. I'm talking to a high-powered couple currently in Orlando, Florida. Alyssa and Freddie, they're in the real estate world and also in the podcasting world, have got a huge background in entertainment and marketing and have exploded into the podcast arena with over 5 million downloads in 5 years. And I don't know how many subscribers do you have on YouTube? Got
between 30,000, about 30 on YouTube, but all together on all social, about 500,000.
500,000 on all social media platforms. So congratulations, guys. And hello, Alyssa. How are you?
Hi, Alyssa. Thank you so much for having us. I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
And Freddie, thanks for coming. The podcast is all about what you've learned about winning. And a lot of those, all those lessons relate to your journey, your story. And when you would say, why are you two together? What brought you two together?
Well, we've been together since 2011. We were best friends for about a year and a half. We met in Los Angeles. Then things got romantic in the summer of 2011. And we moved in together 3 weeks after that. And then we've been together ever since. We're married now, and it's been wonderful. So we're life partners, and we're also partners in business. So we feel very lucky and fortunate that we are able to complement each other in business and in life. So I think that really boiled down to just luck, because we were just young party kids when we first met. And then we, grew up, started working on personal development, building businesses, and have grown into, adults in their mid-30s now. So we've had quite the journey.
We both grew in the same direction, which I think is something that's so imperative. We'll get a lot of relationship questions on our podcast, and we were both in the same place, right? When we met, we were young kids, we were in the LA scene, enjoying, life. And we both made the decision as we continued to grow into, adulthood, if you will, that we wanted to grow in business. We wanted to grow in personal development. We wanted to grow together. So I really believe that's the glue that is, really formed our bond. Obviously, we had gone through so much together throughout the years, but us both really wanting that and to be intentional and grow in the same direction together is ultimately, I feel, what really was that strong bond for us.
So you're here to make the case that solid citizens can actually emerge from that sorry state of Los Angeles. That's what you're saying?
It all depends. It all depends. The land of opportunity, though, it was really good to us. So I know it's going through some growing pains at the moment, but it was really, really good to us. And we have a lot of fond memories and a lot of great working relationships in LA.
Where did you live? Where did you live?
Mostly around Studio City, Burbank, Toluca Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very good. And, because a lot of people, you go out there and it's like, where is the party scene? Where are all these people you see on TV? And it's, it's not always obvious. You've got to know it helps if you grow up there and you spend a lot of years there, I guess, to know where the good people are and
networking. That's part of the gig when you're in the entertainment business. Getting together with as many people as you can, networking really goes a long way. So just as you're out there, you just meet good connections, and then you weed out people that might not, work out in a relationship. But yeah, we found just really good people and built great working relationships. So yeah, networking in a city like Los Angeles is a must.
And the theme, winning themes always emerge, when you're talking about stories of people who've actually worked their way through it and climbed the ladder. But the networking thing, when did, it was two things about networking you said, and that is look for good people and weed out the bad. When did that light bulb go on for you?
I think after getting burnt a few too many times, where you start taking ownership of creating boundaries and learning to say no, and just really asking the right questions and being around people and go, are we really aligned? Do our values align? Do our missions align? And I think just as we kind of pulled away from that Hollywood party scene in our early 20s, some people weren't ready to leave that scene. So we just had different interests in it, and it kind of just pulled away, because it wasn't always bad partings. Sometimes people just grow apart. But yeah, I think that's what it was. Just really understanding ourselves and learning to create boundaries and not letting negative people in your bubble, because life's challenging enough. You don't need a circle of friends that aren't supportive.
Well, not to belabor the point, but if it wasn't such a negative thing, I blocked out a book once about 35 monsters you will meet in life, to give, to explain to kids coming up, entering into the business world, these people are actually out there. Let me introduce you to the narcissist. Let me introduce you to the con man. Let me introduce you to, and so we've all been taken to the cleaners. That's part of the thing of being in business for yourself, is you're gonna get screwed. And it doesn't hurt to have your, coming up. It doesn't, you can belabor it because there's 1,000, you're going to start seeing everybody in a bad light. But I just think it's profitable to be aware these people are actually out there. They're actually bad people out there. And so you ran into, they pick off the naive. That's where they, if you're smart enough to know these people are out there, the wolves are out there, there's harder for them to get you. It's easier for them to find easier picking somewhere else. But how did one particular thing, did you run across there, Freddie, early on that burned you?
I mean, it's just like a cutthroat world in business of people. Just, I think the biggest thing for me was just the jealousy. As everyone's kind of starts off at ground zero. When you start creating success, that's when jealousy can occur. But as we surround ourselves with people in our lives now, everyone's rooting for you to succeed, because everyone succeeds when everyone succeeds. But when you're young, I think that probably happens no matter what field you're in. If someone's achieving more, anybody who's feeling insecure might be jealous, and that jealousy comes out. So I think that was the main thing we saw most often. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And I feel too, we learned early on that the people you surround yourself with influence what it is that your aspirations are. So I feel a lot of our friends now, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I need to do better. I need, continue to grow. And I love having that surrounding me, because it makes me the best I can be, as opposed to, oh no, you don't need to do that. Come hang out here and do this for the entire summer. You don't need to work. We love to hustle. We love to grind. We love to grow. We're still, very much in that continuing to grow phase of everything we want to build in our life. So I think who you surround yourself with is key. And we learned that very, very early on.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this. It sounded like we didn't get a chance for you to fill me in entirely, but it sounded like you had a level of success, Freddie, out there that would cause people to be jealous. What was that in the entertainment business? I mean, you generated some big income and big dollars. Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I've done multiple projects, from movies to TV to commercial work, but I always say my claim to fame, if someone recognized me, it was from my stint on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. I worked on that show for nearly 10 years. And so that was like a huge chunk of my 15-year run out in Hollywood was working on that show. And that was just a really great experience. I learned a lot. I was able to accomplish what I went out there to do, and learned a lot, grew a lot. And so it was a good experience. But yeah, Days of Our Lives was probably my biggest claim to fame.
What was your intent while you were there and while you were working? Was it your intent to move up to have your own thing? Were you looking at the producers there, the directors there, the writers there, and say, I want to do that? What part of that appealed to you the most, if any of it?
Well, just breaking into the industry is like 1 in a million shots. So I just felt very grateful to have any role. But as I continued to grow and become really good at the art, I began to fall more and more in love with the character and the whole process. But I do have aspirations to do writing, directing of my own. We just decided to take a pivot, especially when COVID hit, moved out of LA, came to Florida. We're going to start a family of our own pretty soon. But the cool thing about acting is that it's not like a sport where you have an age limit where you have to stop. So we're going to continue doing the acting business at some point. We're just kind of taking a few years off to, you know, kind of live in a different place, because all we've known is Hollywood. We moved both to LA right after high school. And so this past couple years has been a taste of the real world outside of the Hollywood bubble. And so we're just stretching ourselves, growing, doing some different stuff, and just taking a little hiatus from the business. But we definitely want to eventually get back into it.
I don't want to waste a lot of time on it, but I'm curious why you, what appealed to you about Orlando? Friends there, past association, or things like that?
Yeah, my family's here, and living, apart from them for 15 years, it was really important. So here we are.
Yeah, I've been in the business my life of recruiting, training, and putting people in business for themselves. When it comes time to say, well, where do you want to go? Where you get most excited about, you know, having a area of your own. And it's 80% of it comes down to where the wife is from.
Oh yeah. I'm just trying to get my parents to move down. Yes. They're retired. They're in Ohio, and I'm trying to get them to fully commit and get a place down here too. So that's our goal. We think once we have a kid, it'll be the glue that brings everyone together.
Freddie, if you can't make that sale from Ohio to Florida, you need to give up your salesmanship career.
Very true. Very true.
Now, what caused you guys to, you know, a lot of people, in fact, I'll tell you this, I've got a designer friend who has been on the podcast. You know, I've interviewed him as Matteo Perin from Verona, Italy, and he was traveling through last weekend, and we went by this Haven Art Gallery over on the island where I have some stuff, and I wanted them to meet him and get him to do, you know, some pop-up shows, trunk shows in there. But anyway, I'm in there and I'm talking to the manager, Tommaso, and he, you know, the idea of the podcast came up, and he said, everybody wants to be an actor and everybody wants a podcast. He said, you know, I wanted to do a podcast. I said, well, what would you do the podcast on? What would your, he said, I don't know. I think I have some interesting opinions on things.
That's a podcast in a nutshell.
Yeah. And so what got you guys going where you went from, hey, you know, let's put on a show, to where you actually put on the podcast and got up to 500. Now you say 500,000 followers social media. How does that break down?
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at WeidlOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
That goes on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yeah. So and you guys are gonna educate me on TikTok, right?
Yes.
You know, the thing about TikTok, I just can't dance. You know, I'm trying to get myself a dance.
No, TikTok honestly is a great place, and the algorithm is so brilliant because it really helps to show you what you'd want to see. I mean, I feel your algorithm's very different than mine.
Yeah, we see different stuff, but it's a great way for your business. It just can be your podcast clips. Like, you don't have to do anything fancy. It's
no
just
dancing.
Yeah, you don't have to dance unless you.
I don't have to dance.
No
unless you want to. You know, sometimes it's fun. But yeah, I mean, that was one of. I mean, like the simple story of the podcast is just we wanted a way to connect. You know, having a fan base for 12 years now. We just built such a deep connection on Twitter at the beginning, and then Instagram, and then podcasting was the best way to build depth, because you can only learn so much about people on a photo on Instagram or a quick video. But when we had fans of the show and people that we were meeting tuning in to an hour-long conversation, it's where people can really build depth and build a true community of people. And so podcasting for us was like the thing we were waiting for. And it really fit well with what we were doing. And now we're using that today for all different sorts of community building and different revenue streams. I think like 6 real estate clients that we've had in the past 6 months all came from people who watch the podcast, who are buying in Florida. Yeah. So we have, so it's like a really good tool for people to get to know us. It's a video diary of what's going on in our lives. We talk about things we learn in business. We meet great people, bring great people on the podcast. Everyone kind of shares, and we just build like a really great community. So that's what our purpose is what does our audience want, and how do we entertain them every week? And that's our main goal.
Okay. And this is the Freddie and Alyssa
show. Yep.
Show. Freddie and Alyssa show. And then the real estate is the Alyssa and Freddie show, I guess.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
She's the face of it. We have our strong suits, but she's the face of it, and she does very, very well. But we're both licensed agents here, and it's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun. So we get to focus on the podcasting and the real estate, and that's what we do for a living. So we have, our time freedom. We get to make our own schedule. We get to work with great people, buy and sell, help them buy and sell a house, and we get to podcast and meet wonderful people all around the world. And it's just been it's been really great. So we've been planning this for many years, because I knew that the acting on that soap opera wouldn't last forever, and I didn't want to be left holding nothing. So we were like, let's start building. So in 2014, we actually started building, preparing that one day I was either going to be fired or the show was going to get canceled. So we wanted to prepare to make sure that we had income so that we could travel and do whatever we wanted, and not rely on acting as the source of income.
And again, to be specific, what were those preparations that you started doing? Because you started the podcast in 2018, I believe. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we did 4 years of network marketing. So that's what got us going in the personal development.
What does that mean? Network marketing, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or what?
In the multi-level marketing field. Direct sales. So we started doing that while I was on the show. So we did that on the back end for 4 years. And then it just led us to mentors that then got us into social media. And then over the past 5.5 years, we've built a wonderful business just all through social media, working with brands and advertisers. So that's how we generated that business.
How fast did so you did the prep work to make sure the podcast had some place to go, had some people to follow it. And so it wasn't throwing a dart up against the wall. Hey, let's have a podcast. I mean, you did the groundwork, you worked up to it. How did the mentors shape you? What kind of advice you think your mentors gave you that gave you an advantage?
I think just learning about financial education, that's something that we didn't have at the beginning through acting, other than just traditional, like where to invest and things like that. But to actually like set your hopes very high of the income you could actually generate, being a business owner, and just learning the marketing skills, I think was the best thing, because learning how to market yourself on social media became our business. So instead of selling a physical product, it was basically selling yourselves or selling stories or opinions, like your friend was saying. So that's all it is it's just pretty much, we're just entertainers, and we use these social media platforms to entertain people. And if you have enough views, advertisers love to pay you. So we've been able to build just that business through there. But yeah, our mentors just showed us that there is no ceiling, really showed us that we could be entrepreneurs and creators, and taught us how to market correctly.
And I feel too on that as well. It's really about just rolling your sleeves up and doing the work. Don't focus on C activity per se. So there's A, B, and C activity. And you always really want to be in A activity where you're actually doing the work. Whether for us, that's, out there doing showings with real estate clients, maybe it's us actually recording our podcast, just not being afraid to get in there and do the work, because the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And that is always how it works. So you got to really just buckle down, have a schedule if that's going to be something that will really help you stay on track and get the work done. Don't be afraid to do the work.
And when you say you focused on there is no ceiling, and you focused on your marketing. Talk about that, Freddie. You had a phrase in there that I kind of forgot because Alyssa was so good in her comments. That I tell you, the magic you're looking for is in the work you were avoiding. That was a poof. Very good, Alyssa. This is why I like to talk to people who do things. I mean, you know, even you saying the words, it communicates a pow in people's minds. Whereas if it comes out of a professor saying, Alyssa said, like we used to do, I used to have when you're in growth in building organizations, you do a lot of part of it is recruiting. That's your prospecting and network marketing, you're recruiting. And so I had this incredibly exciting recruiting course that I'd written. And then you get big, you can't do all the courses. So I was walking across the back of a room to get something once where this lady was at the front giving my recruiting course. She almost put me to sleep halfway across the room saying my words. It was like, recruiting is a way of life.
No.
Recruiting is the fastest way from the bottom to the top. And I had written the words and she almost put me to sleep saying it, but it's the words, you know, because there's a spirit that you guys have that you can't get by just interviewing somebody who has it. You know, you can get the words, you know, it's like what they say in the Bible. It's the words and the spirit behind the words, you know, where the power is. That's where the revelation and the light bulbs go on, not so much from the words, but the magic behind it. And so the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding, right? Now, do you guys have something you want to say as a last word? Because we're 3 minutes past your hard stop.
If you have like one more question or something, we could do one more question for you.
Well, it's basically a final word, you know, where what you find people get stuck up on, I won't say the most, but more often than not, people seem to be stuck on, and they're looking for help on to get off the fence, you know, and it can be the reason behind a whole lot of different questions that they would ask you, but inside your mind. And I think a lot of it has to do with they're trying to avoid the work. They're looking for a secret and avoid the work.
Yeah.
But how would you describe that? What do you think that is?
I mean, I think through just the personal experience is that everything you set your mind to, any goal you try to achieve is probably going to be more challenging than you could ever imagine. There's going to be obstacles, and you should really get into something because you're going to focus on the journey and the process of it. I used to thought that was so corny back in the day, and people say, you have to enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. But I never understood that the journey is much longer than you think it's going to be. So pick something. If it's real estate, like try things and focus on enjoying the journey, because reaching the goal is just a step in it. So it's like really pick something for the right reasons, but don't be afraid to try new things, because every time you try new things, you're going to stretch yourself, get out of your comfort zone. You're going to grow, and you're just going to be beaten. You're just going to get beaten up, but that's how you get strong and you learn, and why there's that spirit behind Alyssa's saying, because we've gone through it. 17 years of nonstop, zero vacations, working in 5 different industries, and just being very fortunate to be doing well. And we've definitely had a lot of failed businesses, but the 5 that have succeeded has made us a life. So
yeah, and I feel too, in any sort of avenue of having success, you really have to focus on mastering your mindset and be wildly intentional about what you are feeding your mind, whether that's books, podcasts, it's television in general. You got to be really, really careful what you're putting into your mind. And that can include your friends and conversations with different friends or colleagues. You want positivity. You want to be mentally very incredibly strong, because life is tough. Having success in any avenue, it's tough. It's hard. But you want to make sure that you yourself, you came into this world alone, and you're probably going to go out of this world alone. That's just life, so you want to make sure that you have your own back, that you're the strongest you can be, mentally, physically. Make sure, you know, in the morning for me, it's all about getting my exercise and my mental capacity just where it needs to be. You know, maybe that's spiritual, maybe it's my gratitude journal. Maybe it's putting on a song that puts me in a great mood the first 10 minutes of getting out of bed. Whatever that looks like for you, master your mindset and take care of yourself.
You can, you know, because so many things in life we can't control, but you can control the voices. You can't control your circumstances, things that happen to you, but you can control the voices that go into your mind, and you can control your responses to a large extent. So those are the things to focus on. You guys are a lot of fun to talk to. And
thank you.
You as well.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Looking forward to doing this again soon. And no telling what all we're going to get into next time we talk. Thanks so much. Wish you the best.
Thanks for listening to the $1 Million Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at whitealumwinning.com. Thanks for listening.